Hello guys, today I want to show you how I created the minimap for my Unity low poly game kit. The link to the asset is added to the description below. And here I started a demo scene so that you can see the minimap in action here in the lower right hand corner. The technique is very simple. What you see is a rendered image of an orthographic camera that is rotated 90 degrees, and this rendered texture is added then to the canvas. The camera for the minimap is following the player and it is also rotating in the direction of the main camera. What I will show you now is how I set up the UI for the canvas, then the camera and the images, and how I implemented the C# scripts. Okay, here you can see the HUD, which is just a UI canvas, and to this I added a UI image and I named this minimap. You can see the image has no sprite attached. The color is set to white, and when I change it, it looks like that the border color of the minimap is changing. What actually happens is that this image is just behind the rendered image of the orthographic camera. So let's have a look at this rendered texture. I called this minimap TX, and this is a raw image. To that a texture can be assigned. The assigned texture is called minimap RT. And as I said, this is rendered by the orthographic camera. Okay, so let's recreate this so that you can see how this is done from the scratch. I move this to the left, and then we go ahead and create a second minimap. Okay, I select the HUD, the canvas, and choose UI image. Here it is. I move it to the lower right hand corner, like the first one. And the default size is set to 100, which is a bit too small, so I increase it to a size of 200, but I add an offset for the border. I can use this as a border because this image is going to be below the rendered texture of the orthographic camera. Okay, I bring it to this position and then I set the anchor to the lower right hand corner. The next step is to create a raw image on top of this and assign the render texture of the orthographic camera. So we have to assign a child object to this image. I select it, then right click, and then I choose UI raw image. Okay, very straightforward. Now we have this raw image, but we don't see it because there's no texture assigned. And the next thing I do is to set the size of this image to 200. Alright, so let's see how this will look like when I assign the already rendered texture of the orthographic camera to this raw image. You can find it here in the minimap folder and you can just drag it into the texture slot of the raw image. And the other option is to press this little icon on the right side and then select it. And here you can see this is the same result as the one on the left side. The border is a bit thicker, which is not bad, I think. Okay, but now let's go ahead and create a second render texture so that you can see how to create this from the scratch. Here it is, render texture. And the first thing you have to do is to set the depth buffer to no depth buffer. And again, I set the size to 200. And now we have to assign this render texture to the texture slot of our raw image. Okay, that's it, but you can't see the texture because it isn't rendered yet. It's a rendered texture and we have to render it by using an orthographic camera. So let's see how to do this. Also very simple. Here we have a camera that is named Minimap Camera. And you can add this, by the way, by choosing Game Object and then Camera. A camera has a target texture. This means everything the camera sees is rendered to this texture. For this camera, this is set to the rendered texture minimap RT. The projection is set to orthographic, so this looks like a flat image, you don't see a perspective. And the size, which is more or less a distance, are set to 12. Okay, now we changed the assignment of the minimap RT render texture to the one that we created, minimap RT2. And once I did this, you can already see that it is rendered and displayed just like the first one. Alright, this was the rendering. Now let's have a look at the C# script Minimap camera, which is responsible for following the player and the rotation of the camera. Here's the script in Visual Studio. It is derived from monobehavior, and we have a few public variables here: the player, the main camera, and a boolean flag that indicates if this camera is rotating in the direction of the player. First I set the position and the rotation in the start method, which is called once, and in the late update, that is called once per frame, I check if a player is assigned, set the position of the camera to the one of the player, and also adjust the rotation if there is a main camera object assigned and the rotate with player flag is set. And this is the whole logic for setting the position of the camera. First I store the player's position in a variable newPos, then I assign the Y position of the newPos variable to the one of the transform, which is the orthographic camera, and after that I assign this newPos to the transform position. And what this code does is to let the orthographic camera follow the player with the configured Y position distance of the orthographic camera. Okay, setting the rotation is also very simple. I set the X rotation to 90 degrees, which is a top-down perspective, and the Y position is always facing in the direction of the main camera. And this is basically it for creating a very simple minimap. Now we can start the game and see this new minimap in action. Okay, here we go. It works. The first one on the left side isn't updated because we are rendering now to this new render texture. And this new render texture is assigned to the raw image of the second minimap. And this is the whole logic. Now let's go ahead and delete the one that we created. And I will show you another gimmick that I added for the first minimap. I added a border, a round border, that I can activate dynamically. Okay, my object has a minimap mask that is just a UI image above the minimap texture, and it has a sprite, a round white circle assigned. Beside of that, it has a mask script. This defines the white part, the circle, as a mask. This means we can only see the part of the rendered texture that is inside of this white circle. Then I can go ahead and disable the underlying border image, the white square, and above the rendered image I have another image that is a circular border. It is just a white circle, and if I like I can go ahead and define another color for this. Okay, this is manually changing the border, but I added a script to do this with one click. The script is assigned to the minimap, it is also named minimap, and it has a property called round, and when I click this I change the border from round to square and vice versa. So let's see how this script works. It is also derived from monobehavior, and it has a method called onValidate. This method is invoked when the user changes a property in the editor, for example the variable round. Then I get the components minimap mask and the border and set the enable states according to the value of the round variable. And that's it. By the way, you can define an image as a mask by choosing add component, and then you find and select mask. Alright guys, I hope you liked this short tutorial for creating a minimap with Unity. As I said, the feature is added to my Unity low poly game kit. The link can be found in the description below. If you like this channel, then don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching guys, thanks for your support, and I see you in the next one.